part 2 of the letter HEI. So I'm trying to point at the Dalet, then we'll be pointing at the Vav, which will be next week. But last week's pondering of Daletness is the empirical example, meaning the experience of doing the pondering, the hagahing, with one's own personal mind and heart entangled with the scripture writings that we've been provided with. My thoughts, my feelings is not going to necessarily match yours or some preachers or some doctrine that a council determined, or even David's maybe. The considerations of Torah, the prophets, and the writings like Isaiah and Psalms in the New Testament. So last week, I bumped into talking about different verses that were in Matthew, John, Corinthians, Romans, Revelation. And so last week, I was trying to pull together all these thoughts of saying, I've learned this stuff about JC. I've learned this, heard things about Moses. I read the Psalms about what David's talking about. He's mentioning these words in Psalm 119, the law, the Torah, the testimonies, the mishpat, the mitzvot, the judgments, the commands, precepts, ordinances, statutes, the way it's written in English, law, Torah, teaching. What's the difference in all these things? The difference is in the spelling of the words. So for JC, to Jesus Christ to say, I'm the only Dalet to my Father's house. David didn't know anything about JC, certainly not Christian doctrine. What did David see in the Torah that Christians can say, all the Old Testament people before the crucifixion looked forward to the crucifixion and at the redeeming sacrifice? All of us after that look back at it. I was told that my whole life. The Old Testament people look to the coming sacrifice of the Messiah. All the Christians, everybody after that event in 30 AD, roughly, that we look back at the event. And so he's the principal center Vav between the two Dalets. That's Yeshua, the Vav man. Is that true? So the Dalet experience is to open one's deep inner self. They say the heart in one's body looks kind of this triangle Dalet shape. The door to your heart, the door to your affection, the door to your being. So to feel, to think, to investigate, to respond, to emote, to hope, to imagine, to wonder, wander, wind, see, look at even in English, wander, wind, wind. The flow of wind among objects in the environment is to meander. Some objects, like the wind blowing around a tree or a hill or in a valley, some objects are non-substantive, like an idea, a vibe, an attitude, a temperature. What is it that drives your thoughts? All that is hagahing, hey, gimel, hey. The gimel is the verb action, bet is the noun. Dalet's your inner self, but hey, gimel, hey. Or I can put hey between any other letter. Hey, Aleph, hey. It's basically the word here. H-E-R-E, the location, where you at. Hey, bet, hey. Hey, bet is the word to give. You give like an object, it's put something down. Hey, gimel, hey, navigate. It's also meditate, but to spell words phonetically is hey, gimel, hey. Hagah. Hey, Dalet, hey. Well, Dalet, hey is to be dim or dull or faint. Hey, Dalet, well, there's hey, Vav, Dalet, or hey, Vav, Dalet, Vav is hodu. That's to give thanks. And so what I'm saying is that, in fact, the circle word I did with what was called the Alberta flower that looks like an almond flower, a little graphic. I looked up words in the dictionary where every other letter was a hey. Aleph, hey, yod, hey, vav, hey. Aleph, hey, bet, hey. Look at how many different words can I spell where either there was two consonants with a hey in between, or two heys with a consonant in between, and turned it into a circle word. That was just an exercise on purpose to try to, anyway, that's a whole nother subject, but it's one's own mind meandering along a course, the perusal of the ALEF-TAV from here to there, whatever that is. From the word ruach means expanse, from here to there. That expanse is the word ruach, like the wind blowing through the Columbia Gorge up here in Oregon. It's the gorge between these, with the river at the bottom. That's where the wind is channeled, blowing from the desert to the Portland, Vancouver area, then out to the ocean. And it's like, it's a prescribed rut, as it were. That's the word ruach, wind. So the ALEF-TAV itself is a prescribed path, like stepping stones on a garden trail, a pathway. Each of the designated letters in the sequence is not arbitrary or casual. So if you look in the encyclopedia, what's the source of the Semitic alphabet? It's like, well, just a random collection of, cavemen or nomads, wandering shepherds collected a random set of objects. They made them pictures, they put them, and it happens to end up what we recognize as A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I don't think that's what it is. I think YHUH himself, the great Aleph, Elohim, very deliberately organized, put into organization, sequence, order, the letters of the alphabet. On purpose, very deliberately. Not casual, not arbitrary. Placed in possession by the author of the ALEF-BEIT. So therefore, the ALEF-BEIT is itself the betness of the Aleph. If the Aleph is the consciousness of the I am individual who, as the author, architect, artist, administrator of the alphabet, then the bet, the house, the body of the alphabet, is the bet, the container of the Aleph, at least poetically. The song by the singer is the thing that the singer has projected. And then if you look at John 1:1, where it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word is with Elohim. Now that word with is the prefix letter bet, and it is Elohim. Well, that isness is the Aleph. So there's this word that was bet with and Aleph in. Well, bet Aleph is the word that means to arrive, to enter, to come into, like a house. Well, who's coming into the house? Ab, Aleph-Bet, father. But Aleph-Bet also means to have the desire, the wish, positive or negative, and it's also the word father. So the Aleph, the father, is housed into the Aleph-Bet. The Aleph is housed in the Bet. The self is housed in the body. This is just the meaning of the letters and the way they work in structured order. The Aleph-Bet then is the noun materialization, the manifestation, the vocalization as a word of the otherwise silent, intangible, obscure, unfathomable, unquantifiable, and unqualifiable divine Aleph. So if the divine God, Elohim, Aleph, that you can't see his face, a spirit without a body that no man has ever seen, then when it says Moses spoke face to face with Elohim, that's a metaphorical idiom concept. To say that somebody sees them sitting on a throne in a throne room, that's all metaphorical. Although it sounds physical, it's using betness terms to describe Alephness essence. There's a let's call it a Jewish thought that says there's no possible way that's physical. Christian mind, it absolutely is physical. Look, he's sitting on a throne. You have to decide for yourself, can the Father be seen sitting on a throne in the throne room in heaven? Or as this Jewish author had written, and I think it was that one that was Guide for the Perplexed by Maimonides, he said, Elohim is a spirit that no man can see, doesn't have a face, doesn't sit on a throne. But the phrase sits on a throne means he's dislodgeable. He can't be picked up and kicked aside and somebody else take his place. The throne room is the throne sitting on Mishpat and Zadokah is not that there's the floor. Look at, there's a black square and a white square, and it means justice and righteousness. The word Zadokah is not just righteousness, it means victory, deliverance, and salvation. So this concept of whatever you do comes back around, the way you treat others comes back to you. These are concepts that are pictured as a man sitting on a throne in a throne room. But you have to decide for yourself what's real and what's metaphor, I suppose. But then the ALEF-TAV, the course between Aleph and Tav, which is this Ruach and Kadosh, because it's his, not ours, it's not human derived, it's Elohim generated or Elohim invented. That's the word Kadesh or Kadosh, Kuf Dalet Shin. So it's like if you have a book and you've got a front cover, a bunch of stuff in between, and a back cover, there's like Aleph and Tav. So the ALEF-TAV is the other 20 letters in between the beginning and the end, which is the alphabet. So ALEF-TAV is the encapsulation of all the 22 letters in their comprehensive totality, meaning what they mean as individuals and because they're placed in the sequence order. So this study of the ALEF-BEIT, just so people know for the record, is not just Aleph is ox, Bet is house, Gimel is camel, blah, blah, okay, whatever. But the reason they're in that order is critical, crucial, is very important. And the pictographic essence of the letter is just to retain the objectification as kind of a bet status. But there's 22 letters, so there's 22 capacities besides where they fit in random order of the meaning of every letter. And to identify this about the ALEF-BEIT is the HEI-ing of the ALEF-BEIT, is shining a light on the ALEF-BEIT and says, what is it we're even looking at? Because each letter is about all the other letters, specifically about the letter that came before and the letter that came after. So the Hey is about the Dalet and about the Vav, but it's also about the 22. So to discuss what is the ALEF-BEIT and what is the ALEF-BEIT as Aleph compared to Bet? Well, if Aleph is Elohim and Bet is the universe, the cosmos, but I'm also saying, no, Bet's the ALEF-BEIT also. The ALEF-BEIT itself is this, like the universe, like a house, like a body. The place where Aleph resides is the Bet, because Aleph is consciousness, Bet is body or house. But the ALEF-BEIT is a body or a house of the Aleph, the writer of the ALEF-BEIT. Or even the self is like I individually am the soul, the spirit, the consciousness that inhabits my body. So the ALEF-BEIT is the fractal pattern, like the DNA code of the universe, both on a microscopic scale of concept and the macro. Everything you see is fit exactly to the pattern. They say that you look at the arrangement of galaxies, it's just like atoms, electrons that make up atoms. The way that the detailed structure of how things are made is exactly a picture model of the way it's displayed. Scientists will tell you that. So to consider that the Dalet of the alphabet is not only just the fourth letter. Yeshua claims to be the Dalet of his father's house, the Dalet of the sheep, but the Dalet of comprehending the ALEF-BEIT, the door or the portal to perceiving. So Dalet, your Yeshua being the Dalet of the alphabet, is to say he's the portal of Resh Aleph Heiing, seeing, perceiving, understanding, comprehending the meanings of the letters of the Aleph-Bet. The comprehensible aspects of the fabricated universe. See, the fabricated cosmos, universe, that's the betted bet. And to make it comprehensible is to make it betness, or to make the hey reveal the bet. So now the bet is visible, viewable, because Aleph is invisible and unviewable, uncontainable, unreferenceable of quantity or quality. Aleph is just the existing consciousness. Bet is to put it into form, into format. So whatever it is in the universe, you can say, hey, look, I see the color of that tree. Hey, look, I see the size of this compared to that. I see the location of this compared to that. I see that this is here and that's there. All that is because it's in betness. So to realize that the alphabet itself is saying that there's an Elohim, a deity, a God, father figure who can't be described, can't be seen, can't be located, can't be described, but there is. He invented this word, the Aleph-Bet, which can be seen, can be looked at, can be analyzed, can be pondered, can be understood. It's right here. It's containable. And to say in John 1:1 that it's with him, see, the same word letter bet means with and against. If it was against him, you say, hey, this is me and that's not me. That's contrary to me, but it's with him. So he's good with this. He made it, it's good with it, and he associates himself with it so that it is him. What does it mean that it is him? The word was Elohim. That's Alephness. So the betness of the word also accurately describes the Alephness without taking anything away. There's a verse in the New Testament that says that Yeshua thought it not robbery to be equal with God. What does that mean? He wasn't taking anything away from the Aleph by being the bet. It's describing the nature of the relationship between the bet and the Aleph. And we're haying, we're looking at, trying to shine a light on the dynamic relationship between Aleph and Bet, which is described by the Gimel, the linkage between the Aleph and Bet. So this particular chart that I made that we talked about a while ago, the reason for that, which is, the meta, what's between the other letters are written in the black, and the other letters were colored, the orange color keyed to that orange hay. What's between every other letter? That's the way the whole thing was designed. Well, if I can say, if Aleph is the consciousness, Bet is the container, Gimel is somehow what's between the two, or what's the relationship between the Father and the Word, and then there's this Dalet that says that's his heart, or that's the one type of consideration. Yeshua claims to be the Dalet of the Father's Bet. That the Dalet is the entry to the Bet of the Aleph. Then, hey, what that means is the Father has wrapped himself up in the Aleph-Bet, to the point that if we ponder and think about the Aleph-Bet, we're pondering and thinking about the Father, who can't be seen, but he's made something about himself apprehensible, comprehensible, consumable, graspable in the Aleph-Bet. So the Aleph-Bet is his house of a sort. His house is synonymous with his place, his Shem, his name. What's Shem? Shin Mem. That's name, fame, renown, reputation, the occupation of all your concerns. So if his Shem, Yod-He Vav-He, Aleph-He, Yod-He, his Shem is technically all the 22 letters, if that's where he's at. If each one of the 22 letters describes something about him, Shem is also not just name, fame, renown, but it's also the word pronounced or described as there. It's to locate. Then that's the Father's house then, is his Shem. Name, place. Like the word Shemayim is not, just heavens, it's names and places. Those dots are that place that can be identified and that is given a name. It means something. Why is that name? And it says in the scripture that it was Yahuwah himself who gave the stars their names, then had to reveal them to people. But so to declare that this is the way the Aleph-Bet works, I'm trying to describe insight as to what the Aleph-Bet actually is. Well, that's like having a porch light on the door. That's like having the Dalet illuminated. That's the Hey of the Dalet. Just to even make these statements. To recognize that Aleph and Bet, that's spectacular, because you look on the online and nobody talks about this. Nobody thinks this. Nobody makes these. Well, some people do, but when I say nobody, it's like you can't just go find this information. If you didn't be able to, I don't know what's going on now. How many people are talking about this? 20 years ago, nobody seemed to be talking about this stuff. What I'm saying is the word to a spectacle or something is spectacular is, hey, whoa, it's illuminated, look at that. So hey is to make a spectacle of something. To recognize Yeshua is the Dalet is to make a connection, that's a Vav, of the hey. To Vav, to say I'm connected with, I get it, I comprehend the illumination that the Vav is the Dalet. That goes back to Daniel 12, where he saw one above the waters of the river dressed in white linen, and that's in the Dalet position. We'll talk about that another time. Hey, how long to the end of these wonders? He was asking for a revelation. And then the next sentence, the one, now in the Vav position, dressed in white linen above the waters of the river, held up his right hand, his left hand. There's the shape of the Vav. And he swore, hey, that's the Shavah, that's 7, swore by him who lives forever. So there's Dalet Hey Vav Zion right there in Daniel 12. If you know what the letters mean, he's describing this storyline where he's giving this, again, an empirical Haga'ing. So Daniel 12 is a treasure map showing you what all the letters are. If you know what the letters are, you'll see that they're placed in perfect order. Proof that it's not random. So to identify Yeshua as the Vav is I'm identifying that not only is the Vav the Dalet, but I'm identifying that the Vav is that specific. Well, that's the meaning of Zion. To put a crown on is to identify. Zion Hey means to identify. Zion ALEF-TAV is to identify. It's like, do this. That's the Zion. Not only to be adorned with weapons, but to, like a ceremonial sword on an officer or a star on a cop or a certain type of hat. That's all Zion stuff. The seventh day. Bingo! That's Zion. To make particular the concept at large, to focus in on, to orientate to the bullseye of the target. If you look at Kuf Dalet, it's to drill. You take a drill motor, you got to hold it pretty tight. The more torque is on that drill, if it grabs, it'll throw you. You can break your arm. And you got all this power focused on a little thin drill bit. You got to hold it steady and you got to press down and guide right where you want that hole to go. That's Kuf. Picture the Kuf is this round on this little point, and then Dalet is a door. So I can see in Kuf Dalet this action, and it says it means to bow your head. Kuf Dalet. Look at Dalet Yod Kuf. It means to be precise, exact, meticulous. Kuf Pei Dalet, strict, punctilious. Exactly what did he say? Put your focus, zero in on the bullseye micro, letter by letter. Kuf Pei Dalet happens to be like what you'd expect then of an exclamation point. This big, down to this point. It's also the word for hedgehog or unapproachable. Dak. Dalet Kuf. Says it means grammarian. So Dalet Kuf is a grammarian who's trying to be exact. Makes me Dak. Reminds me of a little kid when you're little kids. duck, duck, goose. All that first or second grade, all the children sit around in a circle, and one person walks around touching the head of duck, 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 duck. And then one of them, they say, goose. And you start running around the circle. And the one that was sitting down has to get up and chase that one and try to tag him before he sits back down in the space that was just evacuated by the one they said, goose. Dak, dak, meticulous, looking at each thing. What's goose? Well, gimel, vav, samik, samet means to cut and break. It's like, get up and run. It's like, so duck, duck, goose as a children's game is a picture. It's like doing hokey pokey. That's all Hebrew too. See, if you're thinking in terms of these Hebrew words, you can see things that you wouldn't otherwise see if you start thinking. To vav the hey, if the vav is a connection, and I'm trying to make these connections of the enlightenment of the Dalet, to make solid the mystery, to cipher the riddle, to crystallize the light, to connect to the presentation, the vav, the hey. Pondering, hey, gimel, hey, sephering, connecting the dots, considering all possibilities. Net, just looking at a word, Naphtali, Nun Pei Tav Lamed Yod, one of the tribe's names. What does that mean? So Leah said, I've wrestled and I've achieved because I've got another son. Now my husband will love me. Na Nun Pei Tav Lamed, na fatal. Well, Nun is a prefix letter, so fatal, or like femme fatale. What does that mean? Fatal. It's tortuous, twisting, wrestling, struggling, winding. There's like winding, perverted or crooked. Well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It can mean perverted or crooked. Twined is rope. How do you make rope? You take twine and you spin it, and then you also spin the fibers, at least three together, to make a chord. Well, what's music? Taking three notes and blending them together. A three-strand cord to become entwined. Well, Yeshua in John 17 said he and his Father were so entwined, and he wanted us to be achad with them the way that he was with his Father. So Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, or the Trinity of deity is the Father, Son, Father, Mother, the Holy Virgin Mother, and the baby Jesus. But there's supposed to be this Trinity, achad, twisting, which is Gimel Dalet Lamed, of Yahuwah, Yahusha, and us, his people Israel. Tav Lamed Yod, Naphtali, Tav Lamed Yod means hanging or dependent on. So it's a quiver of arrows hanging on one shoulder. We're dependent on every word he says. We're not entrepreneurial on our own, doing our own thing. So Yeshua said, I'm not doing my own thing. Everything my Father says is what I say. Everything I see him doing is what I do. It's funny, my wife said the other day, hey, wait a minute, why doesn't Yeshua just grow up and get his own place? It's like, what? Yeah, I mean, why does he get his own place doing his own thing? Why would somebody even ask that question? But, you get to be a certain age, you grow up and you go get your own place. You go do your own thing. You don't have to live at your parents' house forever. And it's like, what a concept. But Yeshua said, no, there's no way. I'm not going to do my own thing. Why not? Why don't you go do your own thing, Yeshua? I mean, aren't you like this preeminent one? No, the only thing he's going to do is hang out in his Father's place. Well, he is his Father. That's why. No, that's a Christian thing, that he is his Father. He referred to my Father, your Father, my Elohim, your Elohim. He put himself in this dislocated zone, bet of his Father's Aleph. Hanging dependent, Naphtali. David was hanging on, wanted to hang on everything Yahweh said. Nun Pei Tav means honey flowing from the comb. Naphtali then, examine closely what is mine, because the Lamed Yod means mine. Pondering, hagaying, hanging, dependent on, examine closely what's mine, tortuous, wrestling, honey flowing from the comb, hang on every word he speaks. That's the pay. Nun is to be engaged in the action of pay, the mouth, dependent, hanging, like every word is honey flowing from the comb. Do you ever think about that when you see the word Naphtali? Has anybody ever talked about that attitude when you think about Naphtali, or is it like a deer cut loose or running free? Naphtali is a deer. What's that got to do with this? Pei-Tov is wide open. Pei-Tov-He is foolish. Pei-Tov-Het is prudent. Nun-Pei or Nun-Vav-Pei is treetop panoramic vista, or the tree swaying in the breeze. Nun-Pei-He, to swing to and fro like the tree in the breeze. Sift or sieve, a sieve, you put something in it and you shake it out to catches the big stuff, lets the fine stuff go through. But it also means to examine closely. Examine closely everything that he said so that we can get every drop of honey, as it were, from the comb. That's Naphtali. That should be my attitude. That's David's attitude that he expressed. So what's the Father's house? So I've asked a few people, what's the Father's house? If I think of it when I was young and grade school, and you hear about the Father's house, where's the verse that says we get to go to heaven when we die and be in our Father's house? Well, there isn't one. There's a few verses. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. That's a New Testament thing. And people have left the body and gone up and went to the third heaven and floated around and seen this and that. Paul claims to know somebody who did, and whether he did, and other people have gone different places. And you can find stuff on the internet, near-death experiences or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of people who've been other places in the heavenlies and claim that is like, but they claim to have gone to these heavenly places and seen previous friends and relatives that had died and that they're there. There's that parable that Yeshua gave of Abraham's bosom. There's an expanse, a vav, or a Zion, a disconnect. And Lazarus was on one side and the rich man was on the other. And he says, hey, could he come and bring me just to touch his finger in water? And it's like, no, they can't. It's like, is that heaven? Is that the underworld? Is that Hades? Where's the Father's house? Is the Father's house the New Jerusalem? Yeshua's going to prepare a place. Is his Father's house, is that more like an estate, like this big ranch? And Yeshua said in my Father's house are many mansions. Did he go to prepare a smaller mansion, a big, smaller mansion compared to the palace in some heavenly kingdom? Is that what he meant? So if I can look at the letter Het and say, that's this barricaded, there's a concept, there's a realization, there's an understanding of the palace or the prison, the pestilence or the pasture, in the by and by, in the eternal. So the eighth letter, Het, like the English letter H, 8 is drawn like this. You turn it sideways, and it's the infinity symbol used mathematically for, it's like the letter 8 means new beginning. So I can look at the letter Het and say, this is all related. The letter 8 is Leolam, unknown. It's behind the veil. It's something in the future. But we got this package of 7 that we deal with, and we live 6 days and then die. That's the cutting off. That's the 7. 6,000 years. Then the 7th is the 7th millennium. So there's a bunch of different ideas. Is the 7th millennium in the heavenly kingdom? Is the 7th millennium on the face of the earth? Is the 7th millennium after the first resurrection of the dead, and they get to live 1,000 years, and then there's a second revelation of the evil people also, which get to be judged and pitched into the lake of fire? There's a lot of different ideas, but there's a picture of a map. The Father's house. Is the Father's house the whole heavenly kingdom? Is the Father's house, is that the kingdom where whatever he says goes? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So heaven must be the Father's house. Yeah, but nobody knows what heaven looks like. Some people claim to have been there, but it's all this irregular, different stuff. It's like, where's the Father? Where can the Father be found? Where can you say, oh, there he is? In Second Chronicles, Solomon said he just built this temple and he's praying. He says, even the heaven of the heavens can't contain you, much less this temple I have built. But yet in the New Testament, we have this concept that he abides within us. Is my being, my heart, my Dalet, is that the Father's house? There's many mansions in my heart, many rooms. Is it mansion or is it room? If I say that the Father's house is where he can be found, and if he gave us this word of the Aleph-Bet, like in John 1:1, and I'm identifying the Aleph-Bet as that place where he can be found because every letter that he built and he orchestrated and he put and placed in order are not just him, but it's how he built the universe and established things which are true and real forever unto beyond eternity, because that's what he made. The word institution, the word establishment, the word set, placed, that which is, that which rises up and stands as an enemy might stand in front of you, is the word spelled kuf mem. Kumi is kufav mem yod. Kumi oria, rise and shine. It means that which rises up and like floats up in heaven. So Yeshua resurrected from the grave. The grave, the chet, opened up, pay, that which opens, zadi, flowering, flourishing, resurrecting, kuf, rising up. So after 40 days, he rose up the cloud, like the round part shrouded over him, and he rose up into the cloud. And an angel speaking to the disciples said, he's coming back. That's coming back with all his hosts. There's the singular individual, the straight line of the Kuf, and surrounded by all his hosts, coming back to the Mount of Olives, the same place. So in Kuf, I can see him rising up in the cloud, and I can see him coming back with a cloud of his hosts back to this place. Revelation 19, when he comes back, then there's the 1,000 years. So does he come back before the 1,000 years? And is it on the face of the earth, or is the 1,000 years in the by and by, the heavenly kingdom? How does this all work? And the Christian realm has many different variations that you don't know. You're just going to have to take your pick which one you want to believe. Is there going to be a rapture or not? But what did he give us in looking at the pattern of the letters? If the immaterial, unlocalizable, unutterable expression of pure Alephness can't even utter what it is, because to utter it is made betness, is made and placed to be instituted as the very epitome of establishment, that's bet mode. What are those things that he put there which can't be moved? What are the kuf mems, like stepping stones on a garden path, fixtures along otherwise wide open gamut of random options? Boom, boom, this one is here, this one is there, this one is here. Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zion, Chet. To have the ability to see something or find it, to point to it, to label it, to step aside from it and look back at it, to consider it, require that it be of bet nature. To be Aleph is in a state of being, but not able to be identified by another. So according to John 1:1, say it again, in the beginning, Elohim was Aleph, caused to exist the Word, and the Word was Bet Elohim, and the Word was Aleph Elohim. So the house, the body, the shroud, the aspectability of Aleph, which is Bet, is that Word. So the Father, the Heavenly Father, who is Aleph, cannot be contained, nor can the entire universe give room for a throne for him to sit upon. He has no proximity, yet declares that the Word, the Debar, is where he can be found, and being so, it is not disparate from it at its essence and integrity. He has no conflict with the Word that he invented to be the thing that housed him, shrouded him. Bet Gimel Dalet is the word shroud or camouflage or deceive or cloak. The Aleph-Bet is the cloak that he is in, and that Yeshua came in as the Aleph-Bet. So it's a fractal model of the being of his Father. A word is a single and distinct conceptual unit composed of syllables, either vocal or written, or existing as massless information, which is the description of the wiggling string of string theory physics. The ALEF-BEIT fits the description of a word. The 22 letters is a word, is the spelling of a word at large. The word fits the description of the Father's house. Knowing what a word means is to enter the house. By definition, to be saved is to translate from the state of mortal to immortal. So in John 10:9, Yeshua said, I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved. What does that mean to be saved? It's nothing you can do. Remember the thief on the cross. Will you remember me? Sure. You will be with me in my kingdom. Today, what? He didn't even have to keep the Sabbath day. He didn't have to say the name right. He didn't have to give a tithe of all his income. And Yeshua said, yeah, I'll remember you. And yet Yeshua said, hey, there's coming a day of great separation. And to some he'll say, I never knew you. And to some he said, welcome into the place I prepared for you. I never knew you. What does it mean to be remembered by him or for him to know you? How do you get to that status? Enters by me, does that mean believe in me? Het kuf means copy and imitate my behavior. He also said be obedient to his Father's will, as he did. He was the model of being obedient to his Father's will, doing the Torah. Het kuf is that word law, or imitate, the thing which was inscribed like his finger into stone, etched in stone. Kuf het, the same two letters opposite, means take hold. Have a heart to want to be saved. Put before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Moshe said, I suggest you choose life. Choose life. You have to have a choice. You have to be prepared with a choice and choose life or choose that. That's the Dalet. Hey, I suggest you Dalet, choose Vav or Zion, connect or disconnect, life or death, blessing or cursing. That's describing the nature of the Gimel of the Aleph compared to Bet. If he's the Aleph and we're the Bet, then we're separated, we're disconnected. That's the Gimel nature. We're distant, but now we can choose to Dalet. We can choose, have the heart Dalet to either Vav or Zion. That's the Hey. So the Torah is the Hey. The Torah is also the Kaf, but the Torah, you might say, is the enlightenment of the situation for Adam. You as an Aleph can be of the Father's Bet or not, your choice. And then when he said, who do you say I am? And his disciples say, well, some people think you're Elijah, some people think you're John the Baptist, even though he got his head cut off. Who do you say I am? Who do I say he is? When he said, in my Father's house are many mansions, places to be, I'm going to prepare a place for you so that where I'm at, there you can be also. So if he's the door to his Father's house, Ab, that's Father's, house, that's Bet, Gimel, Dalet, he's the door so we can Gimel to the Bet of Aleph, if you read the alphabet backwards. Hey, there's a porch light on the door. So that Vav is a man, common man, just a man, the masculine suffix. Going that way, we're all going to die, Zion. We're going to be cut off, but we can, hey, look, there's a porch light on the door so we can Gimel to the Bet of the Aleph. He claimed to be the door to get to the Father's house. Okay. But he came Aleph from the Aleph zone, let's say the heavenly realm, into the cosmos Bet, Gimeling as the voyager, the ambassador, the sent one, as the Dalet. See the word Dalet Lamed means pour, to hang down, to be dropped down like a bucket into a well to pick up the water and bring it up. So he came down from the heavens to the earth to gather up those who choose to be saved, to bring them up into the heavenly realm. Okay, so you're going up into the heavens. How can that be the alphabet, his father's house? What's in the Aleph-BEIT? I'm not denying that there's a heavens or that there's a place that we don't know because it's beyond the chet. What's in the Aleph-BEIT? If he was reduced from his essence, capacity, being in the heavenly realm, I can remember in John 17, Garden of Gethsemane, he says, the glory I had before, when I was with you, before I came here, I'll give you glory, so you give me glory. He's talking about this restoring of what he used to be, where he used to be, and it's like he's a one special dude. He's not your normal person, but he came as in the capacity of normal because the word dalet lamed lamed means to be impoverished, weakened, hang down, subjected to beatings and batterings and death. That's dalet. There's a number of different things dalet can mean. So many mansions. What's a mansion? Well, man, a mansion is a big place. It's a pretty fancy house. It's engineered, it's designed. It's not just your little shack. That's a mansion. A bet migdal, gadol. The word gimel dalet lamed, braided, ribboned, festooned, aggrandized, majestic, ornamented. That's gadol, gimel dalet lamed. The mem in front of gimel dalet lamed. Migdal is the word for tower, or just look at that building downtown with everything as fine as they could make it. Aleph, Chet, Vav, Zion is also could be considered a mansion. It means a place to be, something of your own to hold, taken out of a larger number. Well, that's like your own mansion in the kingdom of heaven, but it doesn't have to be big or small. It's something that you have. Aleph, Chet, Vav, Zion, but Chet, Vav, Zion, see, Aleph could be a prefix letter. Chet, Vav, Zion means seer, prophet, covenant, contract. Chet, Zion, hey, breast, chest, pectoral. Chet, Zion, Zion is lightning. It's a divine revelation of a forecast or a prediction. So Yeshua is saying, hey, I'm going to prepare a mansion in heaven for you. That could even be a Aleph, Chet, Vav, Zion. It's a Bet Migdal. It's like, wow, this spectacular divine revelation. Okay, that all fits. But wait, there's more. I sent all these pictures that are on the chat. Sorry, it's kind of scribbly looking, but that's the way it is. But if I say there's many mansions, and if the word mansion is either Bet Migdal or Aleph Chet Vav Zion, what's the word many? That's Resh Bet or Resh Bet Hey or Resh Bet Bet. But it doesn't just mean many. That's where you get the word rabbi. It means great, important, abounding, honored, enough. It also means to shoot the arrows. It also means to put into the plural, like the Yod Mem suffix. It means lent on usury, to make a profit, widened, enlarged. There was a guy that I bumped into a website. He was talking to a Greek Orthodox priest. And he said, hey, wait a minute. If you look at Greek or Aramaic or English, it's not the word mansion. It means a small room, a chamber, small little room, like an apartment in a bigger complex. And the Greek Orthodox priest said, yeah, but the church declared it means mansion. And the church is inspired by the Holy Spirit, so it must mean mansion. Yeah, but that's not what the word means. In Greek, the word oikia means house of average side, or monai means a dwelling place, a room for habitation. In Aramaic, it's Aleph Nun Ayin Aleph, which is a small place of habitation, like maybe in one's heart. Do we have a mansion in my father's house, or do we have a little cubicle, just a little dormitory room? Well, the church is inspired by the Holy Spirit and its mansion, so that's just what it is. Shut up and leave it alone. No, but that's not the word. What is going on? Well, I looked in the dictionary or online, and it says, what is a small room to dwell in? It's noon, shin kaf hey, nashaka. Well, put a nun suffix, it's mishkan. Well, that's with a mem, but this is with a nun. So the place you shak, the place you shaka, the place you, what you do in the mishkan is nun shakan. So to make a long story short, nun shin kaf hey, nun is a prefix, hey is a suffix. You can put a mem prefix, you put a lamed prefix. And shin kaf or shin kaf vav or shin kaf vav yod, mind, understanding, covered over, screened, long eyelashes, appeasement, satisfaction, pacify, shin kaf kaf, to look longingly for someone. It's also the barb on a spear. Trying to go kind of quick here. It's a housing project. So if I take the meanings of the words in my father's house are many mansions. If I take many being resh bet and mansion being nun shin kaf, hey, of course, Aramaic is going to be different, but I'm just saying, if I looked at that, this is what I come up with for in my father's house are many mansions, John 14:2. In my father's house, in his word, the ALEF-TAV, are important establishments to regard, which multiply, enlarge, expand, become complex as one gazes at, pondering, absorbing it into your heart one at a time. Each letter as the most important individual, though singular and trite, it becomes fascinating to see evolving baseness into majesty. The obscuring veil dissolves, revealing what is the most satisfying realization that what you have been searching for longingly is here before you, dwelling with neighbors of similar wonder, abiding in the village neighborhood of the ALEF-BEIT. Cute little letters transposed into migdolim, magnificent towers, increasing in dignity and honor, celebrated with extreme adornment and awe of their actual significance as a set of fixtures which compose the universe in all its infinite aspects. And the same set of letters construct the house that our Heavenly Father dwells in and certify the great narrative storyboard of Mashiach, validating that Yahusha is indeed the one, Zion Haying, the one Mashiach. If you look at Isaiah 33:18, it says, translated, your heart will muse in dread. Where is one who counts? Where is one who weighs? Where is one who counts the towers? And if you look at the rabbinical commentary, it says, well, when the enemy was attacking Jerusalem, they were counting the towers, the battlements that were around the wall protecting the city, or maybe the siege towers. It's like, forget all that for a moment. Just consider the possibilities. Your heart, Lamed Bet Kaf, will muse, Yod, Hey, Gimel, Hey. That's spelling words phonetically, pondering the spelling of the words. Your heart will do this in dread. Aleph Yod Mem. Hey, Aleph Yod Mem is the word aim, frightened terror, but Aleph Yod Mem Tav means when. Hey is a feminine suffix, as is with the Tav, typically Vav Tav, but sometimes they'll drop the Vav out. I'm just saying it's the same basic word. Your heart will navigate words phonetically when. Aleph Yod Hey, where? Sefer, which means count, number, narrate, border, frontier, cipher, figure, digitize, literariness. Learn how to read. Kufresh Aleph, also suffering is being able to put all these things together. Where and when? Your heart in dread? Who is it you're referring to in Isaiah 33, where people are panicking? And it's like, who can make sense of this? What? We're being attacked by the enemy. What did Yahweh say? What did he mean? Where's one who will shekel, weigh, shin kuf lamed, consider, examine, assess, balance, and poetic meter? A synonym with ayin resh kaf, eriktology, shin ayin resh, shayir, this shemen, count. Where's one who can make sense of all this as a poetic picture? Where is one who will sefer ha migdolim, who will see the narrated story of each letter, not just a letter, but a tower that constructs the infinite, eternal house of our Father? If you look at John 14:2 in the Aramaic, Andrew Gabriel Roth's AENT, Samik Gimel Yod Aleph Yod Nun, Saga, Sagi Ani, Ayin, Sagi Ayin, Aleph Nun Vav Nun, Aleph Vav Nun Aleph, Bet Abi, house of my father, Ve Vav Aleph Lamed Aleph, only except unless exclusive Amer say Hey Vav Yod Tav Hoit, existing Lamed Kaf Vav Nun, Lakon, Dalet Aleph Zion Lamed, weak, helpless to go away, like the Azazel goat. Aleph Nun Aleph, another derivative of Aleph Nun Vav Nun, and Aleph Vav Nun Aleph, Aleph Nun Aleph, that's I am, remember, says, I am the living God. Aleph Nun Aleph, self-referential, Nun, action, living, Aleph, does it mean Elohim? Remember, we talked about that 6 months ago or almost a year ago. Dalet, ALEF-TAV Yod-Bet, paperclip and fastener, Lamed Kaf Vav Nun, again, the same as the word a couple words ago, and then ALEF-TAV Resh Aleph. This is, real quick, you can listen to it and replay it if you want, but the Aramaic of John 14:2. My father's house are many mansions. I go to prepare a place for you. This is this page. So picture the word for mansion or little room. Picture a pizza, pezzati, a pizza that you cut into 12 pieces, 22 pieces, let's say. Each piece is a mansion. No, each piece is a segment of the whole thing. Well, each piece has got all the toppings scattered on it. This is yours. This is given to you. That same word means annual tax. The government takes a bite out of everything you get before they give it to you. Somebody pulls a piece off, makes it their own before you get the rest of it. It's a small bite. It's removing a small bite. A derivative of the saga is Hey Samik Gimel Hey, which means removing, which means walking or something fenced. Samik Vav Gimel Hey, Samik Yod Gimel Vav Aleph. And then the word Aleph Nun, well, Aleph Nun Yod is one of the words that means I am. Zadi Yod is a ship. Aleph Nun Yod is the admiral of a fleet of ships. Well, if there's a fleet of ships, how many's in the fleet? Let's say 22 Migdolim. 22 towers, Migdolim, he, YHUH, who is the admiral of that fleet. Deed of purchase, Aleph Vav Nun Aleph. Well, that same word is not just deed of purchase, Aleph Vav Nun, but idolatry, iniquity, sorrow, and trouble. So the derivative word that came before, that was the small bite taken out, also means mournful and sad. What deed of purchase, because of idolatry and iniquity, bought trouble, sorrow, and sadness? Adam taking a bite out of the forbidden fruit. So you see, you got to pull all these things together. House of my father? If not, say, existing lakon. What's lakon? Lamed Kaf means to you. Vav Nun is one who is doing as they were told to do, which Adam the first didn't. Adam the last certainly did. YHUH did lakon. What's lakon? Lamed means belonging to. Kaf Vav Nun. Set up, established, prepared, firm, secure, right, correct, constituted, directed. Those are the establishments, like the towers of the eternal kingdom. Arranged, ordered, straightened, provided, furnished, determined exactly, like you're supposed to ayin resh kaf, like you're supposed to ayin yod nun, like you're supposed to samik pei resh, kuf down. See, all these words are about doing this task of what did he say? We're not just looking at little letters. We're looking at the migdolim of the universe, of the kingdom of heaven, our Father's house. Tuned an instrument exactly, did intentionally, purposed. Yet, Dalet, Aleph, Zion, Lamed, Dalet is the typical Aramaic prefix, meaning in the condition or belonging to, like the other word, Dalet, Aleph, Tet, Yod, Bet. Tet, Yod, Bet, that's like the word Tov, Tet, Vav, Bet. Aleph could be the prefix letter. I'm just saying, if you know how to analyze these words, but Aleph Zion Lamed means weakness, helpless to go away. Weakness, helpless. That's like the Dalet Lamed, Dalal, the door to hang down weak. But Zion Lamed, he says he's the only Elohim, there is no other. Ein Od Zulti, Zion Vav Lamed, Tav Yod. Zion Lamed means cheap, despicable, to despise or neglect, like the word bozo, Bet Vav Zion, means disrespected, contemptible, vile. It's also like a glutton who's wasteful, there's no value, it means to lavish, like there's so much of this, I can waste it. There's these attitudes. So I pull all these things together. This is what John 14:2 seems to be saying. We're taking these definitions of reshbet, of the word for mansion, of the word for I am the admiral of the fleet, of these 22 letters, in saga, my saga. The word hey gimel, drop the samach off, hey gimel yod vav nun is music or logic. Well, why drop the samach? Because the samach is the menorah shape, which is the engineered structure, like sending out ripples, like so this is a cymatic pattern. If you can see the geometry of the ripples of the sound of the music. My own personal, who's speaking? Yeshua. My own personal story, my saga, is typical, the story of Adam, who bought the deed of purchase for trouble, sorrow, mourning, because of idolatry, iniquity, of taking the bite out. The house of my father, a fleet of 22 ships, of which I am admiral. We are and we only speak truth. Lacan. Although despised with contempt, neglected as bozo, disrespected, neglected, it is tov, good. I am attached for your sake. Also, you could see exactly, was done intentionally, aimed, my self-sacrifice, turned precisely, the image of the menorah like a cymatic of hodu, the logic of the music. Adam lost it, moved away, Samach Vav Gimel, fenced himself, disassociated. I go get him, Samach Vav Gimel, which is an enclosure made with thorns. The crown of thorns is a Samach Vav Gimel. This first word, John 14:2, is Samach Gimel, Yod Aleph Yod Nun. The crown of thorns, among other things it's a picture of, is a picture of trapped thinking, hedged in. We can't see this unless by him wearing that crown, he becomes the door of getting to see our Father's house, understand everything he said. The kingdom of heaven becomes revealed. If you look at Jeremiah 31, verse 32, 33, verse 33 says, no longer will they teach every man his neighbor saying, or his brother saying, you should know Yahweh. They will all know me, from the least of these to the greatest. The word for me is ALEF-TAV Yod. Well, ALEF-TAV is a sign, a symbol, an oath, a letter of the alphabet. It's a graphic glyph, like a letter of the alphabet, like a musical note represents a tune. Every letter of the alphabet represents part of the oath. They will all know me, which is himself, translated as simply me. From the least of these to the greatest. The word least is lamed mem, the place of QOOF-TET, cute, small, cute, least, until Gedolim, Gimel Dalet Vav Lamed Mem, big, great, majestic, important, celebrated. Then he stamps it Nam Yahweh. That's what this is. To regard these letters as not just cute little things that you write on paper with a pen, but they are the fixtures of the universe that Yeshua steps on like stepping stones along a garden path to go from Aleph to Tav in the gospel narrative story, if you know what each letter means. He came down, walking this story path to rescue us, to save us from what the first Adam brought us into as a plight of alienation, fenced off from life and truth and our Father's house. It's right here in this story. Goes on to say, then I forgive their iniquity, their sin, and I will not remember ever again. Why? What? That last part of Jeremiah 31, verse 33, what's the terms? They will all know me, from the least of these. They'll all know my ALEF-TAV, from the least of the till the greatest, from being cute little things to being majestic migdalim, at which time then I'll never remember your sin. Wait a minute, but it's not about us knowing something. It's not our works. It's not our knowledge. It's not anything I have to do. He did something, but what does it mean to know him? What does it mean for him to know me? What does it mean for me to take hold of his chok, law, and imitate? If I don't know what I'm imitating, I'm not imitating. I can't. How does all this wrap up together? Verse 32 of Jeremiah 31. Hizat, this, habrit, the covenant, the legal, bet resh, yod tav, bet resh is pure clean. This is simply the pure clean reality that I cut, I write. This is kuf resh tav, or excuse me, aleph kaf resh tav. To write is ketub, kaf tav bet. But this is that he cuts, like Abraham cutting the animals. This is the covenant that was cut with the house of Israel. To be Israel is not the same as any other capacity of humanity. This is what he cut with Israel. Achri, future. Hay Yamayim, in the future days. Hey mem. They, nun tav yod, Nam Yahweh, it says, give my Torah within, and upon their heart I write, and be to them as Elohim, and they exist for me as my Lamed Ayin Mem people. Write my Torah upon their heart. Put my Torah within them, write it upon their heart. Jeremiah 31:32. These words, upon their heart. And then, at that time, kaf, yod means for, because, thus, such, but it also means when and while. I forgive their iniquity and their sin I will not recall ever again. So there's, at least in this verse in Jeremiah, it has something to do with you will have your sins forgiven, absolved, erased, forgotten, when you have his words written on your heart. And that's what it means to enter through Yeshua. To be of his heart, dalet vav dalet. What's his heart? Every word his father said, everything his father does. No, he's not going to go to his own place and do his own thing. It's not about that. He doesn't want his own place. He's everything about his father. Where else is he going to go? Who do you say I am? Eat my blood, drink my flesh. What does that mean? Be similar to him and be founded exactly the way he's founded with his father. I mean, it's all in the words. And then the letter Hey, real quick. Wrote this up simply, put it in the chat. Basically, David is now expressing, remember the Dalet, he was expressing the passion of his heart. And here he's illuminating what? The first word is horny. Hey, vav, resh, nun, yod. Horny, well, that means like rutting season where you got to get connected. But vav, resh is that word or, light. Hey, vav, resh, the light causing me, enlightens me, teaching me. Teach me, Yahweh. Derek, way, conduct, journey. But kaf suffix means you, and dalet resh is circuit, your turn. Teach me your circuit chokika, your law engraving constitution. And then the next word, vav, aleph zadi resh, nun hey. Nun hey, the suffix, vav or vav aleph is the prefix, zadi resh is rock or an obstacle. You look at that word aleph zadi resh and it means store up, accumulate, or collect, or to solidify and make rocky. Well, here's an interesting thing. If you store something up, you're making it a pile, but the first word was your law that I should imitate, but that was an engraving. So an embossing or a bas-relief is a sculpture built up and the engraving is cut in. So it's the opposite. Just an interesting comparison that David was saying here. And then the word ayin QOOF-YOD-TET, like Yod ayin QOOF-YOD is the word Jacob. It means following at the heel, trace the steps. Also means circumvented, overreach, consequence or reward, that which followed, like similar with the word Debir. So I'll go through these pretty quickly because we're at the end of time here. But what I'm trying to say is, if you look at everything David was saying, he was saying, shine the light on the way that I'm supposed to, that you carved in, and I'm not gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna fill it to the full of everything I can possibly do. But it's a direct relationship between the carving and the filling, the embossing. Just an interesting poetic device. You show me what it is, and I'm gonna follow. Pretty simple. Verse 34, the understanding I have, again, the same word, I will store up and accumulate your Torah. I will keep watch. It doesn't say with all my heart. It says, but call love with zeal, with total all heart. Verse 35, the way of your, see, it says, hey, dalet resh yod kaf, nun yod. Hey is the, nun yod, the suffix, but dalet resh yod kaf. Take out the yod and it's dalet resh kaf, which is leading, guiding, directing. I am going the way. But when you look at hey, dalet resh is the word, yod meaning my, kaf meaning what you, that you have given me, had hey, dalet resh, hadar, like aleph dalet resh, is a prefix. It means the way of your adornment, honor, magnificent, glorified, excellency, to return, repeat, publish a new edition. It's the word for citrus fruit. The month of Adar, the Adar Bet, the 12th month, the second time you have a 12th month, if you're following the rabbinical calendar, your pathway, road, lane, your garden path. Nun Tav Yod Bet, Natib, Ba Natib. Adornment, magnificent glory. That's like Ayin Shin Resh, to be gaining wealth. To be enriched is to walk the way led, guided, and directed on your pathway, your lane. The 22 letters as a stepping stone path. Tav Bet Hey, this is Bet Nun Tav Yod Bet. Look at derivative. Tav Bet Vav Aleph, arc, box, trunk, hull. It's like the hull of a ship sailing along a certain course. And the produce or the product of income profited, which is brought in, Bet Vav Aleph. I'm just saying, start looking at the derivatives and you can see these other things as you hagah, as you contemplate what he wrote. Mitzvot, your commands, kibo, because in them, chafatzti, chafatz, chapsaba, chet, pay, zadi, delighted, pleasure, desire, wish, eagerly, zealously, voluntarily, willfully, whim, and capriciously. He says, I choose to be thrilled, delighting with all my pleasure in your stuff, walking on this path. Verse 36, incline my heart towards your bejewelments, your testimonies, like your moedim. The word there is ayin dalet vav tav, plural of ayin dalets, suffix yod kaf, and not toward, there's that word, exploitation or compromise or arbitrated, bet zadi ayin, ripping off greedy gain by violence, achieves accomplished by sneaky. That's that verse I was talking about earlier. He says, I'm not going to rip anybody off. This is all fair and square. I do it not just for what I can gain, but because it's your stuff and I just want to be of it. I want to be echad with you, Abba, and your ways. It's an attitude of no compromise, but no exploitation. Aleph Lamed hyphenated with Bet Zadi Ayin. Verse 37, Hey, Ayin Bet Resh, the Hebrew. But the word Ayin Bet Resh is not just Hebrew, it's transgression, crossover, Passover, past tense, anger, pregnancy, to change state. It's the region beyond it. So it's from here, that was past tense, now it's something different. It also means navigable or transferred, or the transgression is transferred into something else. My eyes, Aini, me, mem, resh, aleph, vav, tav. Well, resh, aleph is to see. Mem, resh, aleph is that what you see or to be away from seeing. Aleph, vav, tav is a letter of the alphabet. A sign, a symbol, the meaning of something that was stipulated. Of significance, sign, significance, S-I-G-N, signaled. It also, mem, resh, aleph means to be fat, soar, fly high. So you could say, my eyes can see the word shua, shin, vav, aleph, vain, empty, but derek, when I'm in your way, I can see chet, yod, nun, yod, that I've been living empty vanity, or I can see the difference between empty vanity and the word for enriched. You've changed my whole perspective on things. You've changed everything for me. That's basically verse 37. 38, hey, kuf mem. There's that kuf mem, which is that he is placed as a fixture like the towers. Confirmation, approval, set up, standing, appointed. La obedeka, for your servant. Amer takam, you have said, asher, straight right. Lamed yod, resh aleph tav kaf. La yara aleph tav etaka. One who fears you, one who regards you, that you have commanded me to see. The kuf mem, for your servant, you have said, is a straight line. One who reveres you, one who fears, one who takes a sober regard and acting prudently, pragmatically. I better do what he said because it's the only thing worth doing. Everything else is vanity and foolishness. Everything else is nowheresville. Again, verse 39, the Hebrew, or the concept of transferring chet, resh, pei, tav yod sakva, I have or I will. Chet, resh, pei is disgrace, reproach, scorn. It's to spend the winter. It's to blaspheme. It's like he's saying, I have blasphemed the Hebrew. Asher, straight, right. Yod, resh, yod, gimel, resh, tav, yod. I've been afraid, but that also means I scoffed, teased, provoked. I challenged. I was irritated. I was a foreigner, newcomer, kaf, yod, because your mishpat, tovav, bet, yod, mem, because your mishpat is good. But see, yod, mem there, how do you have good in plural? See, there, like the word Elohim, it's not just plural. It means to aggrandize, to be the greatest, like to be migdal. It's this incredible goodness. Your mishpat, but see, mem can mean the place of or away from. I didn't know your shofet. I didn't know the way you balance. I didn't know the way the kingdom of heaven operated. I was a foreigner. I scoffed. I was irritated. And then the last one, verse 40, behold, hey, noon, hey. So again, the two hays and the noon, they're like this lightning bolt. It's like, wow. Tav, aleph, bet, tav, yod. Well, aleph, bet is father. Aleph, bet, tav, avot is forefathers. But tav, aleph, bet means longed for, desire, yearned for. But it's also loathed and abhorred. So father can mean have a passionate desire for, or even contrary to. Lamed, pei, kuf, dalet, yod, kaf. Fakad, pei, kuf, dalet. I have longed for to be entrusted by you, that you make it my charge, my responsibility, that you put in my account, that I am to be accountable for, that you give me, like the parable of the talents. Bet, zadi, dalet, kuf, tav, yod, the condition of your righteousness, your victory, your salvation. Chet, yod, nun, yod. Again, chet, yod is life, by which I live. David said, remember, in the Dalet position, you've made this mine. I see this. What was he talking about? I think he was talking about exactly what we're studying, what we're looking at, which is he saw the meaning of these words in these letters. Somehow David saw this same stuff as the meaning of these letters. And in that, did he see Yahusha being the Dalet? Or did he see it his own heart being the Dalet? When Yeshua says, I'm the son of David, was he just meaning genealogically, or was he saying that he's manifesting the same heart David had when he saw what these words mean? Just like what we're doing. What we're doing by studying this with this zeal makes us Ben David, which is not just the son of David, but Ben means the manifest construct state of Dalet Vav Dalet, which is the beloved. We're acting like his beloved. And you think he's going to say, I never knew you? I don't think he's going to say that. I think this is the essence of never hearing those words. Exactly what David's describing here in these positions of the Dalet and the HEI. Anyway, it's time to quit. We're well past our time. You want to close off, Carla?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sure. Abba, once again, we thank thee and we praise thee for showing us, for showing us to Vav between every single letter that thou hast provided for us in order to seek and find thee. Hallelujah for the Moedim that we are currently having, sharing with thee. We praise thee. We thank thee. B'Hashem Yosha. Amen.
Amen.
You press the stop.